In the land of Israel, during a time of oppression and unrest, a child named Samson is born to a couple from the tribe of Dan. From birth, Samson is set apart by a divine calling, as his parents make a solemn vow to raise him as a Nazirite, dedicated to God's service. They are instructed to abstain from certain practices that might defile their son, including the consumption of alcohol, and to ensure that his hair remains uncut, symbolizing his consecration to God. Despite the challenges faced by the Israelites under Philistine rule, Samson grows up in relative obscurity, unaware of the destiny that awaits him. He is raised with a strong sense of faith and duty, instilled in him by his parents who teach him the stories of their ancestors and the importance of obeying God's commands. As Samson matures into adulthood, his physical strength becomes evident, surpassing that of any man in Israel. Yet, along with his physical prowess comes a headstrong and impulsive nature, prone to acts of defiance and recklessness. Despite his flaws, Samson possesses a deep love for his people and a burning desire to see them freed from the oppression of their enemies. From a young age, Samson is taught the significance of his Nazirite vow by his parents, who remind him of the importance of honoring God with his life. They recount the stories of Israel's history, emphasizing the need for obedience to God's commands and the consequences of straying from his path. As Samson grows older, he begins to chafe under the restrictions of his vow, longing to experience the freedoms enjoyed by other young men his age. Despite his occasional rebelliousness, Samson's parents continued to impress upon him the gravity of his commitment to God, urging him to remain steadfast in his devotion. One day, while traveling through the countryside, Samson encounters a fierce lion that threatens him. In a display of God-given strength, Samson overpowers the lion with his bare hands, tearing it apart as easily as if it were a young goat. This miraculous feat serves as a testament to Samson's extraordinary physical abilities and solidifies his reputation as a man of great strength. As news of Samson's encounter with the lion spreads throughout the land, whispers of his incredible strength reach the ears of the Philistines, striking fear into their hearts. Yet, despite his remarkable abilities, Samson remains humble, recognizing that his strength comes from God alone. As Samson's reputation as a mighty warrior grows, so too does the fear and animosity of the Philistines. Determined to assert their dominance over the Israelites, the Philistine rulers tightened their grip on the land, subjecting the Israelites to harsh taxation and oppression. Witnessing the suffering of his people at the hands of their enemies, Samson's heart burns with righteous anger, and he vows to take action against the Philistines. With a fierce determination and an unwavering faith in God, Samson sets out to confront the oppressors and deliver his people from bondage. Despite his dedication to the cause of his people, Samson finds himself drawn to a Philistine woman named Delilah. Entranced by her beauty and charm, Samson falls deeply in love, heedless of the warnings of his parents and the elders of Israel. As Samson's relationship with Delilah deepens, she begins to press him for the secret of his strength, eager to prove her loyalty to her people. Despite his misgivings, Samson succumbs to her relentless questioning, revealing the source of his power in a moment of weakness. Delilah betrays Samson, revealing his secret to the Philistine leaders who lie in wait to capture him. As Samson sleeps, his hair, the source of his strength, is cut, and he awakens to find himself weakened and vulnerable. Bound and blinded, Samson is led away in chains, his pride shattered and his spirit broken by the treachery of those he once trusted. As Samson languishes in captivity, his thoughts turn inward, consumed by guilt and remorse over his folly. He reflects on the consequences of his actions and the pain he has caused his people, realizing too late the folly of his choices. Imprisoned in the Philistine stronghold, Samson becomes a source of entertainment and mockery for his captors. They taunt him mercilessly, jeering at his once mighty strength now reduced to nothing more than a memory. Despite his physical confinement, Samson's spirit remains unbroken as he reflects on his past mistakes and the consequences of his disobedience to God's commands. In the depths of his despair, Samson finds solace in prayer, seeking forgiveness and redemption from the God he has forsaken. He cries out for deliverance, pleading for a chance to atone for his sins and fulfill his destiny as a champion of Israel. In his darkest hour, Samson turns to God in repentance, crying out for forgiveness and restoration. Despite his waywardness, God hears Samson's prayer and grants him renewed strength to fulfill his purpose. With a newfound sense of purpose and determination, Samson embraces his calling as a deliverer of his people, trusting in God's faithfulness to see him through the trials that lie ahead. As Samson's hair begins to grow back, so too does his strength, empowering him to break free from his chains and escape from captivity. With a fierce determination burning in his heart, Samson sets out to confront his enemies and fulfill his destiny as a champion of Israel. During a grand celebration in honor of their pagan god Dagon, the Philistines bring Samson out of captivity to entertain them with his feats of strength. Unbeknownst to them, Samson's hair has begun to grow back, restoring his supernatural power. With a prayer to God for strength, Samson pushes against the pillars supporting the temple, bringing the entire structure crashing down upon himself and his enemies. In his sacrificial act, Samson fulfills his destiny, delivering his people from oppression and bringing about a decisive victory over the Philistines. As the dust settles and the cries of the Philistines fade away, Samson lies amidst the ruins of the temple, his body broken but his spirit triumphant. In his final moments, he offers a prayer of thanksgiving to God, grateful for the opportunity to serve his people and fulfill his destiny as a champion of Israel. In his final moments, Samson's faith and obedience to God shine forth brightly, illuminating the darkness that has surrounded him. Despite the mistakes of his past, Samson's ultimate act of self-sacrifice brings redemption to Israel and serves as a powerful testament to the transformative power of God's grace. Through his death, Samson achieves victory over his enemies and secures a lasting legacy of courage and faith for future generations to emulate. As news of Samson's heroic sacrifice spreads throughout the land, the people of Israel are filled with gratitude and reverence for their fallen champion. They gather together to mourn his passing and celebrate his life, honoring his memory as a true hero of the faith. Samson's story becomes woven into the tapestry of Israel's history, serving as a reminder of the consequences of pride and disobedience, as well as the power of repentance and faith in God's forgiveness. His life serves as a beacon of hope for all who hear his story, inspiring them to trust in God's faithfulness and to walk in obedience to his commands, knowing that he is able to redeem even the most broken and wayward of souls. As future generations look back on Samson's life, they are inspired by his courage, his faith, and his unwavering commitment to God's purpose. His legacy serves as a timeless reminder of the transformative power of God's grace and the strength that comes from trusting in his unfailing love. Through the highs and lows of Samson's life, we witness the sovereignty of God at work, using flawed individuals to accomplish his purposes and bring about redemption for his people. Despite Samson's shortcomings and failings, God's plan prevails, highlighting his mercy, grace, and unfailing love for his chosen ones. As Samson's story comes to a close, we are left with the assurance that God is faithful to fulfill his promises and to bring about his purposes in the lives of those who trust in him.